All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here.
You've got no socks on. I mean, that's.
Oh, I do. No, they're low. They're just low.
Oh, sporty socks.
Yeah.
Why do people have?
I don't even know. I have no idea. I just threw them on. Well, I coach volleyball too, so maybe that's why. But I threw them on this morning, threw the shoes on. So
they look good.
I might have cold ankles though. You're right.
On the radio, they look good, but I'm just worried about your health. What's the volleyball team going to do with no coach?
That's a good point.
You know, come on.
They did well this year.
No, if you get a cold, that's all I mean. I
Yeah.
just want to keep well. I've got a lot of jobs. This and the volleyball. Come on.
And I'm an editor for a magazine.
You're going to need to be after this.
Right? My medical bills, right? You've had songs in a lot of movies, like Save It for Later is in Kingpin, like we talked about, and Rotating Heads was in Ferris Bueller. What are some of your favorite films that your music has been in, and how did that come about that the music became in those films?
Well, I only really like one film, Wings of Desire. I just watch that one every time I want to watch a film. And sadly, that's not my music in there. It's the Nick Cave and the Seeds in it. So I have to just play the record whilst I'm watching that film. I don't know. There seems to be a bit of, even films where they've got really good bits in it, it seems the editing's done by accountants. And I can feel where that's happened. Especially if it's a decent writer and decent actors. It doesn't make sense. You're like, whoa, what happened there then? And often the use of the music, you know. So I sit there, I'm boring to watch films with, because it'd be like, uh-oh. What do you mean? Well, he's not got long to live, has he? What do you mean? Well, he's got to die anyway, because he killed the cop at the beginning. So even though the cop deserved it, you can't allow somebody who's killed a cop to survive a film. So he's got to die, and we've just gone to C minor. So... Hold on. Oh my God! I was like, it's all right. The other guy's going to make her feel better about it. It's like, oh. You know, so I don't get involved really. It's a shame, you know. I used to like to watch a lot of foreign films, subtitles, films you read. I used to find them better, and I found that in a film some French guy could make where all three people are only ever in the one room and the most exciting thing happening is a window opening and shutting, there's more sense of human drama than a fleet of exploding helicopters. You know, the distraction part of it and the not so subtle moralism that goes on puts me off the artistry. And saying that, I hope they don't get to hear about this and stop putting my songs in it, because they're often the best part of the film, which is why they put them in. It's like, oh, that sounds real, let's put that in, and we'll put that bit the accountant said over with the pictures, and they might like the film then.
You were telling us just a minute ago about how you heard about Save It for Later being put in Kingpin in the specific type of scene. Can you talk about that?
Yes, because there have been over the years a few different requests. Somebody had done a whole political assassination of somebody in their shower in their apartment, stepped out beat for beat with mirror in the bathroom, you know, and I was like, no. They're like, no, you don't understand, David. It's anti-death, really, the sentiment. I was like, yes, well, then don't use my song to show somebody being assassinated so that we all have a feeling of anti-death. That's what the song was about anyway. I don't want a film of somebody being murdered to clear that point up. And so you've got to be a bit careful. But a very nice woman on the phone said, well, yes, well, it's the scene's being used for an Amish barn raising. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe that. That's exactly what the song was written about. She's like, no way, really? And I'm like, no, not really, but anyway. So I couldn't wait to see it in the film. It was terrific, wasn't it? Sitting on them beams. Da, 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 da. I want to build a barn now. I never did before.
Now, what about bands that I know you've toured with Real Big Fish, and there are other ska bands you've been around. What is your opinion of these new ska bands?
My opinion's the same for the old ska bands and the traditional ska bands and any band. It's down to the songs. Are there songs that genuinely connect to other people's hearts or not? And it's ever so simple to tell, and you can usually tell, I can usually tell in the first song from a concert. Just the way people are coming at you, you can tell. in the same way as you can in a conversation in a bar with a friend or a stranger. It's like, are they being real? And it's very difficult to be real on stage because it's quite an artificial place to find yourself, so it takes a bit of practice. And the combination of that, you know, can you write something that's heartfelt from yourself, intimate to a point, or confessional, but also you've worked on it hard enough to make it so it has a universal sense of it, that people can go, oh, I don't know exactly what you mean, but I know what you're getting at. I've felt like that as well. Any sort of connection like that, all of a sudden, those are the groups that 10 years later, anybody can still remember whistling the tunes, you know, because they touch somebody's heart. Some of the others, same as in our wave of ska, probably the same as in the traditional wave of ska, you've got groups that weren't particularly ska bands until it got to be a bit fashionable, and all of a sudden everybody is skanking and pranking. What else rhymes with prank? And it's like, well, and they might do a few concerts, and if there's a nice live scene and a youth movement around it, they might go for a bit. 10 years later, nobody's singing everybody was skanking, because they didn't mean it in the first place. So the good groups are good and the bad ones are still crap.
Now, a lot of your music, a lot of your lyrics have been politically motivated. You're big about the environment. And in fact, you actually got a lot of artists to work on Alternative Energy, an album that was completely recorded by a mobile recording unit done with only solar power. Is that right?
That's right. Recorded, mixed, mastered, all with solar power. Had REM on it, U2. I used mine and Greenpeace's connections to try and talk people into it. It was in the early mid-90s, perhaps 94, and I was working at Greenpeace full-time there, and they said it's really difficult for us to get any decent conversations about global warming going on. It's as if the powers that be have got away with the too early to tell. Remember that one? Too early to tell. Science isn't in, you see. Science isn't in. And so we were in the entertainment part, you know, and we thought, well, how could we apply ourselves? And I was like, well, if you could make a really great solar-powered record from all the people that are supporters of ours and big on the pop scene, then they'd get to do interviews about it. And if they took a Greenpeace campaigner with them, Greenpeace campaigner with the artist could get to talk quite a lot, at least in the entertainment pages of major newspapers, and that's some press. And they liked the idea, and so it did well with help from all of the artists, like letting us collect a higher percentage of the royalties because it was their live version of the song. All the record labels doing the same, like waving a little bit of it so that more could go to Greenpeace. A record club doing the same, making it record of the month at Christmas. There was a lot of goodwill which we'd sort of been building up and picking up on, and people wanting to do something. And we said, well, we haven't got nothing at the minute, but I'll tell you what, when something crops up, we'll let you know. And that's what happened. And it was lovely. It raised quite a lot of money for Greenpeace, and more than that, it raised quite a lot of awareness that it was even an issue. And as you can see, well, we're glad we dealt with that now. No need to worry about global warming anymore. On a cold day like this, no way. So yeah, it was nice, and it was frustrating that we're still effectively in the same boat 15 years later. Although you see the beginnings of change, and you wonder if is it too late anyway now. If people thought it was too late, then maybe it's even more too late now. And even, I think, for the more sort of supernatural believers that think that, you know, the planet's doing this on purpose and it's God's will, if that's what they believe, fine, but then wouldn't it be their job to stop heating it up more than God wants then? If God wants it to heat up at a certain rate, could they at least follow his directions on that and not heat it up any more than he wants? I mean, I think there's a way that any of us could look at our belief systems in terms of mutual survival. You know, I don't care who they thank if we get out of this. All praise to any of them, whether they exist or not. Who cares? You know what I mean? If it works and it draws us together, that's fine. But I have a problem with religions that draw people apart and kill each other's children in a way of proving that there's a God. Duh.
Yeah. Now, you've toured with some major bands. Obviously you were into the major bands of the last 30 years, but you toured with bands such as The Clash, The Police, R.E.M., you're Talking Heads, absolutely. So I'm sure it's hard to pick, but who are some of your favorite bands that you've toured with, and maybe a story about it?
I think, we did 2 shows with David Bowie, and that was amazing. But touring with The Clash was like being part of a photograph, of a black and white photograph book of some social movement, and I was a big fan. And then all of a sudden I found myself standing on the side of the stage week after week watching them with my collar turned up, and it was all right to spit on the floor. Or, hey, do Mick,
It's in fashion again now.
You like put your sleeve out a little bit and adopt a bit of a London accent, and I liked it a great deal. I loved the songs. They were, for me, the Grateful Dead of the new wave. That in the first 3 songs, if they took off, it would be one of the greatest rock and roll moments you were ever going to be lucky enough to experience. The mayhem, the connection, all of it, music. If it didn't quite catch fire, you could be in for one of the longest nights of your life, like a bad Grateful Dead show. I don't know. Is it the show or is it this acid? I don't know. This is like sucking. It's not even 11 o'clock yet. So it was amazing playing with them. Fantastic. And I became good friends with them, and I was very sad when Joe died, and made me clean up my act a bit quicker than I was. So thanks, Joe.
Now, today, obviously, 30 years ago, major tragedy, the passing of John Lennon, shot and killed. Normally known as, almost unanimously known as one of the best songwriters of all time. In your opinion, who is the greatest songwriter of all time?
Well, after they shot John Lennon, there's only me, really. But somebody said to me earlier, isn't that amazing? It's 30 years since they killed John Lennon. I said it was amazing they waited that long. Frankly, he's a great songwriter, though, wasn't he? I don't know if there's a greatest. I'm kind of like Pearl Jam when Eddie Vedder, when you say, well, it's not about awards or charts or polls, and that's because I've never been offered any awards. But they're for different times and reasons, aren't they? For going shopping music, for vibrancy music, for memory lane music, for having sex music. John Lennon's a bit introspective for wanting to do it, isn't he? Really. So he wasn't the greatest songwriter for doing it. There's others for that, I would say, but he certainly was one. And more than that, he was an icon to us. They did marvellous things that helped puncture sort of the transparency of the British Empire and what it was still pretending to be, going to Buckingham Palace, accepting an award, smoking a joint in the toilet and sending them the medals back on the Monday. Paul got a medal back later after John had gone. Well, he's gone now. Can I have one? Sir. But so that meant a great deal. That meant an awful lot to us, and also, sadly, when he was killed, it fueled very much into an anti-Americanism that was about at the time. There you see, if he hadn't moved there, this would never have happened. It wouldn't have happened in the civilised world, would it? So there was a lot of that. And it took many years to dissipate, and I got to say, there's probably still people in England saying that today. It's become part of the legacy. Well, if he hadn't moved there, they don't know how to behave, do they? That sort of thing. And probably all of it's a bit true, eh?
Well, we'll ask you one more question before we can let you go here. I read on your bio that you took the Greenpeace job and you were working full-time for Greenpeace, and then your good friend Elvis Costello actually talked you into, not so lightheartedly, talked you into getting back into singing. Can you tell us that story?
Snapped me back into shape, he did. Mr. McManus. I had a lot of friends at the Greenpeace office, and they were very impressed that I said I knew Elvis Costello, and he was doing this Greenpeace tour project at Anaheim in Orange County. And so quite a lot of us went down, and I said, yeah, of course, I can introduce you. So we went backstage, me, followed by a crocodile of Greenpeacers, like about a third of them hacky-sacking. either solo in small triangles, you know. And we went in and all crowded round Elvis, and I said, here's my mates from Greenpeace I was telling you about, and they're all ever so pleased, excited to meet you, and thanks so much for doing this. And he said, Wakeling, he said, I could bang yours and Jerry Dammer's heads together. I was like, oh, earth swallow me. Good, right, yes, and what? And he said, I mean, this Greenpeace stuff, this anti-apartheid stuff, it's all well and good, but your place is on the stage, Wakeling, and you know it. How odd, about 2 weeks later, at the Greenpeace office, still chafed, probably, slightly chafed, somebody said, oh, these people would like general public to reform to do a song for a movie, and you've got the choice of Stuck in the Middle with You or I'll Take You There. And it's for a movie called Threesome. I was like, I'll take you there. I think Stuck in the Middle with You is a little literal.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I'll Take You There. That could work. And we liked I'll Take You There because in our ska history, there'd been an instrumental ska song from 1970, a couple of years before I'll Take You There, that was the theme tune to West Bromwich Albion football team coming out. And The Liquidator, it was called, and quite similar. So we said, oh, that would be fun. Why don't we see if we can blend bits of the two together and have West Brom, so quite similar tunes. And we did, and made a really nice sort of medley, if you will, that worked great in America, because I'll Take You There was a song from the 60s. Bill Clinton used it as his song through the campaign, used it on election day as he arrived in Little Rock. And I'm watching the news thinking, oh, how's this going to go? And the play note was, it goes, dum 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 dum. Bill Clinton walks out and takes his first step, and I go, I know a place. Oh, and I'm like 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, I'm part of it. Quick, wake the kids, wake the kids, wake the kids. They use my song, they use my song. He's going to win, he's going to win. And he did, thank God. Imagine Stand Down Margaret, which had, you know, been our big hit about Margaret Thatcher, and she ended up being the longest reigning Prime Minister in English history that century. I use the word reigning advisedly. So I always thought it was our fault. So I was glad to have backed a winner there with Clinton. Hey, got one in. There's one thing I'd like to tell you about. There is, if you look on iTunes, there's an acoustic version of one of our new songs called "The Love You Give Lasts Forever." It's just come out on iTunes today as part of this tour, and this tour as well is all part of this thing called Acoustic for Autism, and all the proceeds from this single, that's what it is, a single I suppose it is, yeah, this song, 100% of it go to charities helping and supporting kids and families with kids with autism around the country. So if you've got $1, spend it. Sadly, I won't see any of it anyway. But that's beside the point, Dave. That was my inside voice. Mind me. No, I think it's a smashing way to do it. I was much touched by the idea, and so if anybody's got any time or an extra buck or sort of a gift to buy somebody, the love you give lasts forever. It does, and $1 could go a long way. So that's what I would say is my final.
Absolutely, and a good friend of ours, a regular listener to the show, Mike, his brother actually has autism as well, so I know he'll appreciate that, and he's a huge fan of yours. Everybody
knows someone who knows someone, and especially parents now in America. It's hard not to know somebody.